I would love to explore with you more angry, destructive behavior with a 6-year-old. Okay? Knocking things over, clearing off shelves in the closet, throwing books on the ground. Yep. I've tried suggesting hitting a pillow or the mattress in calm moments, and he doesn't want to do those things. And then how do you manage the cleanup when everything is over without retriggering? Really good question. Okay, so this question is how, really asking, how do I redirect a child's behavior so it's not quite so destructive? And the child is 6, and they're not, at least initially, taking to the idea of doing something else. And then do you have them, how do you manage the cleanup when it seems to retrigger the event? Really good. So those are 3 different parts. Number 1, and we can't go back and forth right now because you're not here live. So I do have some questions about it. And I'll, just by the nature of the way that I do this here, I'm going to have to make some assumptions. So I apologize if my assumptions are wrong, but I will do my best to answer it. So when you've taken the suggestion, you've tried the suggestion of, in a calm moment, saying to your 6-year-old, when you're angry, I want you to hit a pillow, or I want you to hit a mattress, right? Which is a great idea in theory. I'm wondering how that's being presented in the moment when he's actually angry, right? And also how it's being taught in the moment. Because with a 6-year-old, and even with, until they're quite older, just having a conversation about it isn't going to be enough. And here's where I'm making an assumption. And I don't want to go too far out on the assumption, but my assumption is going to be that there hasn't been enough teaching ahead of time. That's my assumption for the parenting piece of it. So you may need to revisit the explanation and then do a demonstration and do an actual role play with your 6-year-old to actually practice and to get a little bit of muscle memory in the moment. Right? So let's do it. Like, you're really angry, you're super angry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pillow, I'm just going to show it to you. And that gets into how you're doing it, which is step number 2. Step number 2 is going to be, how is it going down in the moment? Are you saying to your son, how are you, like, go hit the pillow, go hit the mattress? Like, the words and the instructions when your child is already in that heat of the moment and in that part of their brain and just being really reactive, they're not going to hear it. They're not going to understand. They're not going to be able to process that. They might not even be able to physically hear you. So unless there's like real practice ahead of time with showing the pillow, the best thing you can do is pick up the pillow that you've agreed and you've practiced ahead of time, right? This is how it's going to go, sweetie. When you're angry, I'm going to take our angry pillow, whatever pillow you've designated as the angry pillow. Maybe your child can decorate a pillow with black marker and, like, I don't know, tear it a little bit. They have to have permission to like beat on this thing, right? Because they can't hurt it. In that moment, no words are going to work and they're only going to frustrate you. So you take the pillow and you just show it to them. My kids are older. We don't do pillows so much anymore, but I have like hit mitts, like for boxers. And so I'll just go, I'll walk, I'll get the hit mitts and I'll do this. And they're like hitting on the mitts. And we also have a punching bag downstairs and they are older. And that might be something. Another piece of step 2 is, or it's actually step 1 of what are you asking him to do? Perhaps hitting a pillow or hitting a mattress doesn't resonate with him. Maybe he needs something else to do, and that's going to be experimental. But either way, it's got to be practice, and it's got to be like in his body, and in a way that's an expression that's going to feel right to him. I was talking to somebody the other day who was like, my child gets really upset, and then I ask him to breathe and calm down, and it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, that's probably because your kid needs to like hit something. Have you tried letting him express that in a physical way? And for some kids, it's going to be hitting something. For some kids, it's going to be taking a run around the block if they're old enough to do that. For some kids, it's going to be getting on their bike and pedaling as fast as they can. There's some physical outlet that would be acceptable. So those are 2 things. The one is, how is it being presented? What is being presented? And then the second thing is in the moment, how is it being presented, right, to a child who's in a space where they can't process words and instructions. So if your frustration is around that he's not doing it well or he's not doing it at all, it may require practice on all of those levels, backing up and being like, we're going to try this again. It's going to take a lot of repetition. And I'm just curious um, how often you've tried it so far before throwing out the suggestion. A suggestion isn't necessarily going to work with kids the first time because you didn't get into a pattern and your child didn't get into a pattern of reaction in one day or one interaction. There's been a pattern established, and so you're not going to get out of a pattern in one day, right? Anytime you got into something over time, it's going to take you time to get out of it. If that makes sense. Okay, so those are the first two items that I'm breaking this question down. And the third thing is that managing the cleanup. Listen, if your child is still triggered when you're going into cleanup, it's possible that there's not enough time, that there hasn't been enough time for him to really cool down in order for it to not trigger him again. And I would recommend in the presentation, when you're having the ice cream or having the cup of tea, when you're having the whatever you're doing together, to talk about it much, much later, when after it's gone on, to say, we're going to review again. Here, when you get angry, we're going to do this thing. I'm going to do this. And then afterward, at some point, we are going to clean it up together to let him know that there's going to be a beginning, or as I say in sports language, there's going to be a pre-game. We're going to talk about it. We're going to make a decision. There's going to be a game time, which is what we're going to do in the moment. And then there's going to be a post-game after the event. We're going to go and we're going to clean it up together. So managing that ahead of time as far as an expectation is probably going to help with that. And like I said, if he's being re-triggered, he hasn't had enough of an opportunity to really process what happened. That's going to be for you a game time decision when it comes to that moment of cleaning up. Is it worth it? I can't answer that for you. If it's 9 at night and it's already been like a shit show of an evening, and you don't have time and it has to be cleaned up, you might want to do it yourself. And it's not the same every single time. This isn't one size fits all solution time over here. Okay. I hate it when parenting people give like one size fits all solution stuff. It doesn't work like that. Real life is very dynamic. So if it's 9 o'clock at night and you can't manage it and everyone's just got to get to bed and you need that room cleaned or you need things picked up, clean it up yourself. Whatever's going to make you less resentful is what I would say. If the meltdown happened early in the morning and you have the afternoon to let it slide, and then after lunch, after a nap, you can be like, okay, babe, we're going to go and we're going to pick it up now, and he's in the room while you're helping, or you can make the pickup into a game of some sort. Do that. The pickup piece of it doesn't have to be a punishment, by the way. A pickup part of it can be neutral, right? Or it can be, even with a 6-year-old, I would say, could be like, not that bad, like not punishment, right? It could be like, let's see how quickly we can pick this stuff up, and then we're going to go and do something fun afterward, right? Then we can go and we can play a game together. We really got to pick this stuff up, okay? So bring him into that by making it a game, by singing a song, by all the fun stuff that we have talked about in this program, all the positive interactions. If you find that he is not on board and he's not helping clean up, and that's part of the deal with this, then it's a time to evaluate. Am I asking too much? Is it enough if he picks up some of the books? Is it enough if he picks up some of the shelf? Does he have to do all of it? Does he have to do it by himself? What is your line here? I'm not here to tell you what is right or wrong in this case. It's going to be what feels right for you. And if it's not meeting your standard, and the standard is fair for a 6-year-old, right? You can't be like, okay, go clean your room and expect a 6-year-old to do that to your level of satisfaction. But if this is something that's continually happening, then you start taking things away. Those are natural, logical, unemotional consequences. The books were knocked, or what was it? He's clearing the shelves in the closet. All those things were cleared off, and he's not helping to pick it up. Okay, you go in, you put them into a box, and you put that box away. And one of my favorite lines is, these are going away for a long time. To a child, a long time could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month. It's up to you what a long time is. You don't have to define that. You don't have to say they're going away for exactly one day because you didn't clean them up one time. Like it doesn't have to be that logically linked. Parents get really all caught up trying to figure that stuff out. Don't worry about it. It's just a logical consequences. You knocked it off. You didn't help clean it up. I'm going to be putting them away now, like out of sight. You cannot use them if they're toys or whatever. Books on the ground. Yep, the books are going to go away, you know. But to stand there lording over them, being like, you have to pick it up, you have to pick it up, that's just going to. So my question to you is, you know, what is being retriggered? Is there a fight around the cleanup that is it being retriggered, or is it just that it's a new fight because it's a fight now around cleanup? Those could be two different things. So I invite you to think about that. Is this actually retriggering, or like ask yourself, is it actually retriggering what happened, or is it just another round of a new round of conflict that is being activated because of the approach that you're using to get him to help clean up? Those would be two different things. So I invite you to reflect on that, right? Do some self-reflection and think about how you can approach those things with more play, more positivity, and again, front-loading everything with more heads up and more practice, and perhaps more options for him to express himself if those two things aren't working. Okay? I hope that helps. Let me know. My goal in answering these questions is to give you some ideas to either try that you haven't tried before, or give you a way to reframe the situation or think about the situation differently that you haven't thought of before, that might open up and be an aha moment for you to help you find your sweet spot. So I hope that that helps. And I'd love to hear your feedback on that. And I will check in with you about that later on.